We good?
What's up, y'all? This is Pigeon John over here with the shaved mustache, looking all fresh and fish. Banana Republic, homeboy. Representing. You are tuned in now to
Moon Garden Media
podcast with my big homeboy,
Steve Bader.
Moon Man back there. Well done.
Let's hear it for the Moon Man.
Thanks, Moon Man.
Whoa, it's the bomb, homeboy.
Oh,
We'll do it live.
goodness gracious. All right, so how was your day?
Good. It was
All
good.
right, I'm going to share this. I'm going to share that. Everybody share it. So right
Oh, I
now,
went
folks,
to
if you're
share
here,
and
go
I
ahead and
stopped.
share it to your timeline. If you're here with your phone, go ahead. You can go get it. We got a minute. Go ahead. Seriously, go get it.
We are in no rush
Share your
here.
timeline. So I'm sinking into my own.
Go ahead. Come on.
Yard
Okay.
right now. Number one. Number two, I'm still recovering from the goat attacks. And you'll notice that the one panelist that did not show up tonight is Jillian, and it's because
I noticed that.
she has a family issue, right? She's in Michigan, and it's
She's
like
embarrassed about those goats.
the goat attacks. What? All right, so what are we doing? We're doing 330
We got to pause. We're not very good at this multitasking
and
thing.
fostering. Adoption and fostering. she's like,
Just
I
turn
see
it off.
myself. Adoption and fostering. Tune in for the discussion. All right, we'll go ahead and share that bad boy. Hit the post. Okay, now you guys don't have to watch it.
All right, I'm good.
All right, so this month has been like our serious month. It's like we do a lot of fun stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is, I don't want to say this has been like Debbie Downer month, but we
This
literally,
is informative.
It's been
this
informative.
has been the informative month.
we started out with the whole go to the farm, and it's about providing opportunities for kids to be able to work with animals for therapy reasons.
Yes.
And then we did opioid crisis and opiates last week, which actually, I'm not that smart. It leads us into this show because it talked about, many of them talked about how the opioid epidemic has basically created this issue in regards to what we're going to talk about today. All right, so that's
good
this
follow-up
month.
show.
All right.
Next month is exciting, though.
Next month is crazy and exciting, and I think
excited.
the next time that we're going to be here with another food truck or food cart will be for the What Women Want episode, and I'm supposed to be getting. So Christina's insisting I get my eyelashes done now.
So this is what happens when you add a woman to your show.
I just got a package in the mail 2 days ago from a lady that I met at a conference, and it's one of those black charcoal thingy-majiggers, right?
We're going to make Scott look
I'm assuming the
awfully
only
pretty.
place I could put it is literally right here, right? Okay.
No, you can put it on your beard.
No, that's not true. That's not. You can put on your beard?
You can. You just can't put the peel kind.
That's what it is. It's one of those.
Oh.
All right?
Then
All right.
no, don't put it
So
on your
then,
beard.
so then I got that, and then I got Carlita coming from the GLC from Chuck's show, and she's gonna. I shouldn't be saying that live right now, but she's gonna come from their show over to ours, and she's gonna do like massage things, and I'm supposed to be getting a pedicure.
Pedicure?
All
We're
right.
gonna
So that's the whole What Women Want show. That'll be the next time that we do this.
mark
here.
your calendars.
Just living the dream.
So yeah, right. All right, so now we're backwards. Can we do this?
Yeah, I think we can.
We gotta go. You ready? We're not waxing anything.
Wait a minute. Maybe
Moon Man,
we
you ready
should,
for?
Maybe we should take a poll on waxing.
Of course,
Hank's
it
back.
starts to rain right on cue. We've been battling that all day. Like everything was set up, and then all of a sudden we had a monsoon, and it blew all this stuff over. All right, you ready? Can we do this backwards? You ready, Moon Man?
I think we can.
We're doing it backwards. Okay, here we go.
We've got a great show tonight. Ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Akron's hottest and fastest growing show, 330 to go. I'm your host, Hank Forrester, coming to you live from Stakeout Studios, overlooking the rolling plains of Hardesty Park. In tonight's episode, we take an in-depth look into foster care and adoption in and around the 330. But before we do that, we're once again joined by the dulcet tones of Danny Marie. Apologies to Danny. Our staff has been calling her Dina for the past 2 months. Kate had a typo on the script, and I, of course, just simply read the teleprompter. I'm Hank Forrester? Question mark?
Hank, age does matter. How you doing?
Thanks for that. Living the dream.
I'm just living the dream.
Tonight's episode is brought to us once again by LaBelle's Barber Parlor. LaBelle's is located inside what is now known as the East End, which is the Goodyear Historical Buildings. Their state-of-the-art facility boosts big TVs, a coffee bar, compressed air at every station. It's like being in a hunting lodge living room. They have recently added to their staff and now have more availability. Call 330-472-0497 and tell them Hank sent you. You can find them on Facebook and online as well. And boy, do they make guys look good.
So we got Charles, we got Tom, and we got John out there at LaBelle's, and they are doing a wonderful job. They're booking actively right now, so make sure you take a look into LaBelle's Barber Parlor. Literally, folks, this is incredible. So
It is coming down.
It hasn't rained for the last 4 hours, and then it rained for like 5 minutes and blew everything over. We got it all dried up, and we start the show, and it literally starts raining again. So, ladies, if you got to scooch in, just feel free to do so, all right?
Get close and personal. This show is about family.
Yeah, so also, guys, we did a thing, right? We did a thing. We're going to be an Alexa-approved flash briefing skill now. So starting in July, every morning, you're going to be able to hear the fun version of local news and daily specials just by literally asking your Alexa to brief you, and it will give you the 330 to go morning minute. Make sure you enable that. I'm going to give a tutorial video here in the next couple days on how to do that. We're going to include the link in tonight's Comments Live. And breaking news, well, 2 parts to it, right? Number one, I've had multiple restaurants sign up for the program. So we're going to be giving daily specials to go to restaurants where you'll be getting $3.30 off your total bill. And in addition to that, and this is a big one, it's worth another drum roll, I think. We literally have fresh ink on the email. Is that right? With Acme. So we're going to be giving a local code to Acme shoppers who shop online with Acme that will be able to get discounts on their online grocery shopping during that morning minute.
Woo! Give me some!
So point being, it's going to be worth listening to that daily briefing, all right? So we'll get you
This is each and every day.
each and every
we get
day.
to wake up to you.
Yeah, it's pause. Oh goodness, really? I don't even know where to go with that. All right, so another thing we did another thing. We started another show. I'm sure you've been following it, or maybe you haven't yet. But we've started the Hop and Bean, and that is with Buzz Andrews. Buzz is with the Hop and Bean. He does the Buzz Around Town. We're 2 episodes in. We got a 3rd episode starting tomorrow night. So make sure if you haven't yet, go to Hop and Bean. Look for Hop and Bean on Facebook. And they focus on brews, beer, and coffee. So you can start your day one way and end your day the other. All right? So Hop and Bean, make sure you check that out. That is live now and active on Facebook. All right, so here we go with tonight's show. So I believe it was you. Yes, I'm pointing you out right now. I'm singling you out. So we did a show live about animal adoption. And it was in regards to fostering dogs and cats and whatnot could be ferrets or whatever. And we ended up talking primarily about, how do you take care of a dog, et cetera, et cetera. And we had a couple guests on, and then some kind of animal control came on a couple shows later, and they discussed it as well. And during that process, you said to me, hey, why don't you do a show on actual fostering and adoption for, children, okay? So this was your idea, so yay. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for that. So here's our panel. I'm going to go around the horn here and just tell you who they are, and then we'll kind of go over bios with everybody. We got Liz Miller over here, okay? Jillian couldn't be here. I think she's avoiding me because of the goat incident. Then I got Jennifer Herrick over here. I got Jennifer Herrick over here to my left. I got Naomi Fox, correct, right next to her. You have a wave, okay? Got Laura Merklin next to her. And then over to my right is Sarah, is it Bozick? Bozick, all right. See, I did that right. See, the DJ thing. All right, so, folks, that's our panel. So right now, what we're going to do, first of all, let me just go over some generic things, and then we'll kind of get into your guys' stories. everybody's here for their own reasons. Everybody has their own story, okay? There's many different things that call folks to either be a foster parent or to adopt. And these are just some, again, this is just generic. Now, before we go into this, ladies, I know there's a lot of emotion involved with this, okay? There's a lot of good feelings that have happened. There's a lot of bad feelings that have happened. There's a lot of random things that have occurred during this whole process over the last several years. So, you know, you don't have to bottle them up. You can let them out however you want, and it's up to you how you guys want to express yourselves, okay? But the point is, here's some of the reasons that I listed in terms of reasons that people either foster or adopt. One is people do have infertility issues. Sometimes people, they never had kids. They had a career, and they just didn't have time, and they ran out of time. Some people, it's not so much an infertility thing, but they just simply can't have children for various reasons. Sometimes it's with same-sex couples as well. Sometimes it's God's calling. Like you feel that need to want to help others, and that's a part of it as well. Okay, and as I mentioned, last week's show kind of ties into this one, and that's in regards to the opiate epidemic. It's increased the need for foster to adopt across the country at exponential rates in the last several years. We literally, according to Ann from Summit County Children's Services, we literally have orphans right now, as in they have no place to go. They're not in foster homes yet, and they're not adopted yet. They literally are just sitting there waiting to be placed anywhere, because whenever a drug bust occurs, the kids are removed from the home. And right now, and this is a staggering statistic, and I'm hoping this is wrong, but this is the statistic I got. This is according to Cleveland.com, that on average, over 650 kids go into custody every month, once a month, just in Summit County alone. 650 kids a month just in Summit County, okay? And that's from drug busts, okay? In addition to that, you got issues. Kids are born and they're addicted to drugs because their parents are, and these all facilitate and create additional issues in regards to this epidemic. All right. So right now, what we're going to do, you got mics on both sides. Okay. So we're just going to kind of go around the horn here, and I want you to just tell us who you are. Give us a brief. I always ask everybody, what's your Akron story? So tell us, if you grew up in Akron, if you migrated to Akron or whatever. That's right. That's the right word, right? Migrated, yeah, just not flying like birds. So
Wow.
tell us how you got to Akron, how you ended up here, and then just briefly say whether you're fostered, adopted, and that, and then we'll go into more in-depth questions at that point, okay?
Yeah, just kind of a summary.
All right. So I'm Liz Miller.
Talk to the camera.
All right. Oh, gosh. I just want to look at people. This is going to be difficult for me. All right. So I came to Akron soon after I got married about 11 years ago. Love Akron. Love West Akron. It's one of my favorite places to be. I love just the community that we found here and all the people from different walks of life. It's just been a real treat to be here. So I'm super excited to be here tonight and talking about something that I'm very passionate about. So I got married 13 years ago and had our first son about 12 years ago, had another boy 11 years ago, and then right around that same time, we came into contact with our now son, Tony. He was a foster child for my in-laws, and we had always talked about adopting, but always when maybe our boys were older. But he just fit right in with our family. And so we went through the process. He was from Cuyahoga County. So we took the classes through Cuyahoga County, even though we lived in Summit County because we were told there was less of a cost to do that. So that's kind of his story. We went ahead and got licensed to do foster care and for adoption. And then he was able to come live with us. He lived with us for 6 months, and then we were able to adopt him. And so he's been with us for about 8 years now and is the joy of our family and so special. And here's my youngest. Do you want to wave hi to the camera? You want to wave hi? This is Tony's favorite, and I think, is Tony your favorite? Oh, Tony's not her favorite. So is that about what you wanted to know? All right. Where should
And
we
I'm
go
going to ask a lot more questions coming up.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
We'll get in detail.
Okay.
My name's Sarah Bozick. Came to Akron for college. got my undergrad and master's degree at the University of Akron, but always grew up in Northeast Ohio, lived here my whole life. And now I work in Cuyahoga Falls, so I very much like being in Akron, like the community, and don't live far outside of Akron. I am a licensed social worker, so I am an adoptive aunt. So I have some nieces that are adopted. I have friends that have adopted. I consider those my nieces and nephews as well. And I work for a private adoption agency, so I have information for not only about foster care, but how this has impacted the private adoption community as well.
Okay, go ahead. Grab that one.
I'm Jennifer Herrick. I'm born and raised in Akron. I grew up in Kenmore. So we're from the area. We live in West Akron now. My husband and I are licensed foster parents through Summit County. We'll had our license for 2 years in September, and currently we have 3 fosters in our house that are 1, 2, and 3.
Hi, I am Naomi Fox, and I grew up right around here on the west side of Akron. I used to ride my bike down all these streets all the time, and when I got married when I was 18 and thought we would start our family right away, and God had other plans. So about 8 years after we got married, we became foster parents through Summit County, and we were foster parents for 8 years with our license expiring just recently in January. But through that journey, we adopted 2 little boys last November. And my firstborn is adopted as well, but not through foster care. We did a private adoption of him. And one awesome thing about our story is that our first son was adopted. He was ours the moment he was born. We were there for that experience on November 13th. And then our second and third children were adopted also. Their adoption day was November 13th as well. So I think God wrote that story and made a really special day for us. But
I am Laura Merklin.
Hold on.
Closer.
I grew up in Copley, Ohio, and I live there now. But I'm only here because I work for Caring for Kids. Oh God, with Caring for Kids with Sarah, and wanted to be here. Danielle invited us to be here, be part of this great opportunity to share about the need for foster care due to the epidemic, and how to start that process, and other ways you can help if that's not your calling.
All right, so let's just leave the mic. At this point, I'm going to ask a question, and whoever feels inclined to talk at that,
let me know.
just kind of grab the mics, okay? All right, so first question I have is, so if someone goes to get started in this process, okay, what are some of the agencies that you can go to? Of course, you guys are representing your own, but what else is out there, and what's the difference between going from a private agency and going through a public agency, question one. And question two, I see a lot of these folks that will go overseas. They'll go to Africa, or they'll go to Russia, or they'll go to somewhere, and they'll come home with a kid, okay? We have family who did that, correct, with Jeff and Jeanette, right? They went to China. So the point is, how does that work? Okay, I am the perfect person to ask these questions to facilitate this, because I told you guys before we started, I'm totally ignorant of this whole thing. I'm coming into this with no bias. Yes, you hear me say that. I don't know what I'm talking about. Thanks for that. Thanks, Danny.
Age matters.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. So literally, this is to educate me along with the public as well. So please enlighten us.
So, first of all, I'm not going to mention any other agencies other than the ones that have been mentioned here.
Okay.
Just do a plug for Caring for Kids and the county agencies. But there are different ways that you can foster and adopt. One being going to your county or a neighboring county and inquiring. And so you're going to turn in an application. You're going to go through a training process. You're going to complete a home study. That's a very long process, an in-depth process to make sure that you are suitable to adopt and foster children. going through a private agency such as Caring for Kids, you're seeing the same kids. You're still seeing the kids that are connected to counties. A private agency allows you to have another social worker supporting you. So not only do the kids have a social worker through the county, but you as a family have a social worker that's coming out to support you as well. The other thing is that getting connected with a private agency, that private agency may have connections with a variety of counties as opposed to just hearing opportunities from a specific county. So in a nutshell, that's really kind of what the difference is. There are a lot more private agencies than people realize, and a lot of people think private agency, private adoption, but these private agencies are helping counties by certifying foster families and being able to take kids that maybe they don't have a home for. And again, then you're having another support in the home by adding the layer of the private agency social worker. Is there anybody want to add anything else?
Anybody want to add anything? Thoughts?
Okay. So piggybacking on top of that, tell me about a home study. What does that mean? How's that work?
Yeah, let's hear those home study
Now, listen,
stories.
okay, before we go on, feel free to share your experience. Some of them are very, very good. Some of them are not. We want to hear that. And it's interesting because the girl that was going to be here tonight, Jillian, she was like, I've not had a very good experience with this process. So, and she was going to share that. So feel free. Okay, so go for it.
That's why she needs to call Caring for Kids.
Right.
Well, and I have a quick question too. Home study, do you do it one time or do you have to do it each child that comes in?
Well, you do it once, but you update it throughout the years.
Let's just pass this one.
Let's pass this
Push
one.
that one down.
Mic's not picking
There you go. We'll just do that one. There we go.
So when we became foster parents, we did a home study through the county, which you got to be prepared to share every detail of your life's information. Some people feel that it's intrusive. I didn't really feel that way. I just felt like this is what I need to do, and I don't mind sharing. I'm an open book. They come, they inspect your home, make sure it's safe. There's fire inspections, there's physicals, there's really basic financial statements. Your dog has to have all their shots up to date. I mean, there's a lot that goes on. But if you're prepared for that, then you know what to expect, and it's a long process. I did find it funny, though, when we became foster parents, and then within about 10 months, we did a private adoption for our firstborn son, and it was not through an agency. It was where we hired an adoption attorney, and in the county we lived at the time, Portage, we went through their court system and did the adoption. And I had I think she was a social worker from Portage County, come out and do a home study, and she was there for like 30 minutes. It was like nothing, and I was like, really? Because my experience with the home study was insane. And she was just like, okay, all right, you're good. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks.
Do you think that experience was because they already wanted you to adopt him? Like it was just an attorney setting that up? So it's different
It
than
might
the
have
county?
been easier because she knew we were licensed foster parents, but I mean, she didn't really go into details. They didn't get a lot of information. It was in no way connected to us being foster parents. It's totally separate kind of adoption, but I'm sure with like a private agency like Caring for Kids, it'd be pretty similar to what we went through. No? You're not as intrusive? Yeah, the home study. No, the home study, I'm sure, is very more like the first thing I said.
They're Ohio rules. They're Ohio regulations, laws, and so it no matter where you go, the home study is the same. The training might look different. The process might look a little different. All the requirements are exactly the same.
It's good to know.
But I'll say with like the home study, it wasn't just like they were out once. They were out like 4 or 5 times for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. And it was like a couple of them, like my husband and I were together. And then there's a couple they had to do it separate. So, and like literally like, and you had to write a book about your life. Like, when did you hear about sex? When did you kiss your first boyfriend? Like, they want to know all of this, and like this lady dug in. Like I don't care, but like literally like dug into all of that, all your past experiences. I had a little more than because I was married before, and like he committed suicide and all that. So I had a little more behind my history. So she had to dig in a little more to like do all that, and where my husband, I was his first wife, so like it was not as difficult. But so like they are in there, and then she also is inspecting during that time. During that time, she's still even looking at the room as we're setting up the rooms for like the different ages and different things like that too. So like the whole process from the 40 hours of training through the home study for us was like a 10-month process to get licensed.
Generally, a home study will take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, and I know that social workers are not required to come out 4 or 5 times, and the hope is that you don't have to. I don't know how many times.
Social worker. It was the home study from Guidestone.
Yeah, but our assessors are social workers. Yeah, yeah, we're assessors. So, but yeah, I mean, it depending on who it is and what your history is. Sometimes the history is a little bit more in depth, and that's going to take longer to get through because they're just ensuring that you're healthy. If there was a trauma to you in your past and you're bringing a child into your home with trauma, they have to make sure that you're healthy enough to help that child overcome the trauma that they've experienced. So not to say you've been traumatized, but it's very purposeful. It's very intentional. And like you said, a lot of people feel like it's intrusive. And the reason for that is some of these kids come from really hard places, and you have to be healthy enough, or they're going to be coming into your home, re-traumatizing you and leaving. And then our work, we've not done anything to help that child.
What's your experience with it, Liz?
I was just thinking about this. So we with our home study, she came out 2 different times and did a pretty in-depth interview. Like all of the things that you mentioned, Jennifer, were like questions that we had to answer because they want to know where you come from and if you're going to be able to comfort the child, if you're going to be able to help bring them to their best life, So I appreciated that. I wanted to be an open book. I think that's key, is like going into it like, here's where I'm coming from, because they just want to get an accurate read on what kind of child to place with you, essentially. So I was thankful that they were as in-depth as they were. It was frustrating because it did take time. We had already met who we had hoped to adopt. So it was through a public agency, and I've been told that through private agencies, that process goes a little smoother, a little quicker. So that might be something to just talk about if somebody, wants to make this happen a little quicker. Maybe you guys could speak to whether that, what the time difference was. We went through Cuyahoga County, and this was 8 years ago, which I think there's probably a lot more children in the system now than there was then, but it did take, I was calling the social worker every day, like, so where you at? Where are you putting, have you processed our request? Have you gotten this paperwork? Because we wanted him to be able to come live with us. So maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah. Our home studies are typically done within 3 to 6 months. If they're not done at the 180-day mark, there is additional paperwork that goes into it. So our goal is always no longer than 180 days.
You go.
So what happens if something comes up? Like if
that
you
was going to be my question.
If you answer one of their questions of like, maybe as a teenager I'm going to be very, watch my words. Maybe as a teenager you were not a very well-behaved teenager, and there were incidents and stuff like that, but you're now an adult, and those come up in this home study, and they're basic questions like that. They're traumas. What do you guys do with that? Do you just say, oh, you can't adopt or you can't go and foster? Do you get like an opportunity to kind of like go through that and work through that situation?
There are certain things that prevent a family from fostering or adopting. Other things, if you did, if you were drugs or if you did stuff like that. Yeah, you have to get a doctor's report that you are healthy enough to parent. If you've in any way experienced any mental health and you're seeing a therapist, you're on medication, anything like that. All of those professionals in your life have to say this person is appropriate and healthy.
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, it is like, and the things that had happened, you just explain it, and then you talk, through, and you let them know, okay, because from the first marriage, I did see a counselor after that, and I,
You have to go to that counselor. And
well, I didn't have to because it was so far long ago. But I was like healed from it. But I can now use that experience for the children that are coming in now. So they do give you that a chance to explain it. I don't want to say explain it away, but just explain it and go through it. And and as you're talking, she's really just sitting at the computer typing. She's not really even listening to you. You don't think so, but she is, because she's typing it as she's hearing it and stuff like that. So they do give you that chance to explain what happened.
Get some?
I will add, though, as a social worker who is working on placing children in homes, the home study is, you might be in a situation if you decide you want to foster or adopt, specifically adopt, where you go to what's called match with several families. Sometimes there might be several families that are interested in the same child, and that is the document that we used to determine what home is the best fit for the child. We are not looking at what child is the best fit for you. As social workers, you are when you're inquiring about a child, but we're looking at what home is the best fit for that child, and we are using your home study. A lot of times many social workers won't even be able to talk to you much. We can talk to you about the child and give you all the information you would need to know before placing that child in your home. But we have to make sure that we're being fair to all families and what you share with us about your family until we get to a certain point. So being as detailed as you possibly can and open with that social worker is important.
All right, so keep the mic there. That leads me to my question. What happens when you say no? Okay, so, and again, I'm not trying to, I don't know, am I allowed to ask that? So what are the stipulations and what are the requirements where you deny somebody the opportunity to either foster or adopt? I mean, what do you deny, or do you maybe kind of put them aside? Do you redirect? Or is it just they don't fit? Or is it just, sorry, you guys aren't?
So are you talking about denying a family
Like
for a
okay,
home study, or a family denying a child?
There's a couple ways you can say no.
Well, let's say it's funny because we were listening. It's a Hard Knock Life earlier. Both directions, okay? Both directions. All right. So when a family says, "Yeah, this just isn't working out," how does that go? So it's a 2-part question. So this just isn't working out. This kid just won't work out with our family.
For a dog, you can return a
No, it's not a dog. It's a kid.
You can't return a kid, though.
Right. You can't write you can't say, "Hey, you can't." All right. So that's part one. Part one. And again, if I'm not allowed to ask this, just let me know. But I'm assuming it happens.
It does.
All right. Question one is, if you feel the kid's not a fit for your family and you say, sorry, this isn't working out. And question two is, if it's the reverse, where you do your assessments and you say, sorry, but you guys just shouldn't be adopting a kid. Okay. How do both of those work? Or would it be not so much that, so much harsh, but where they say maybe this isn't the right fit for you?
Maybe you're not ready. Maybe they think they're ready to adopt or foster. But
So talk us through that.
So I am going to pass the mic. I'm going to say one thing, but Sarah is my kind of go-to. I've been in the field for 3.5, almost 4 years. She's been doing this work a lot longer. I will say that unfortunately, in my role, I work with what's called harder to place kids. I'm working with kids who are older or who are in sibling groups or who have experienced a lot of trauma and trying to find them homes. Unfortunately, most of these kids have a lot of moves. Hopefully, what I will say, and I'm hoping Sarah will add to this, if you find the right agency, they're going to give you the right prep, the right education, and the right resources and tools so that you do not have to move a child, because the moves not only are traumatizing for you, but for that child. And so I'm going to pass the mic because I know that she will have more to add on that and with when families are denied.
So I'll start by saying I believe that it's very rare that a home study is denied. So meaning that you're going through the process. Typically, if there's something in there that's going to cause you to be denied, you're either not willing to be explored or intruded on the way that a home study is, It might be a criminal history that even though it happened a long time ago, it just automatically voids you out. Yeah. There are times where people are approved, but as social workers, there may be a concern. And so there might only be special cases that are presented to that family. But if there's not a legitimate reason to deny a home study, we can't just say no. There has to be an absolute reason. If a family may be headed in the wrong direction, like they're looking at a program that really wouldn't be a good fit for them. Maybe I hope I'm not hurting anybody's feelings, but maybe if they're almost 50 and they're looking to adopt an infant, that might not be the right program for them because a mom may be looking for a younger family to adopt her child. So we try really hard, like Laura said, at our agency, we try really hard to give families the right education so that they're finding the program and the child that's the best fit for them. We are not looking for kids for families. We are looking for families for kids. These kids need forever homes. They need families that are educated, aware, and prepared to take on their needs. So we're not wanting to place kids in a home just to make a placement. We are placing kids in homes because we believe it's a good fit and that child should be in that home. Did I answer the question?
You did wonderful.
Yes.
So on the foster parent end of it, you can say there is like a placement disruption. If you do get a placement and it doesn't work out for what's best for the child or the family, you can ask for the child to be removed, and they will find a new. They hate to do it. I've not done it. I know a few people who have, but sometimes it is best for the child, and then it is best for the family as well. And then the other thing is, you can, if they call you for kids, you can say no, because they'll have very little information at the time of intake. Say, hey, we got these kids, this is all we know. Can you take them? Do you want to take them? And you can say yes or no to that. But I will say, if you say no so many times, they're going to ask you, are you really serious about this? Do you want to keep your license? And stuff like that.
We do have an indoor studio. All right.
It's not blowing it's coming straight down, so I'm good right now.
It's just Ohio, man. It's literally sunny for 3 hours.
What's really funny is Sunday when we were talking, I was like, what happens if it rains if we're outside? And Hank goes, it's not going to rain. And I go, okay. Yesterday he was at my house picking up tents.
Oh, my gosh. All right, so the next question is, where do folks begin the process? All right, so let's back that up. What made you decide that you wanted to do this? We'll start with Naomi and work our way this way, okay?
So initially, we wanted to do this because we were unable to have children naturally, and it just seemed like what we felt we should do. But I would say, that was a long time ago. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I was young, and yeah. But I would say that is kind of the wrong idea, I think, to have, as I've gone through this process and been a foster parent for a while. I think it's important that your goal is not completing your family and adding to your family and filling a need in your life for children. Your goal when fostering to adopt, not just adopting, is to just be available to help these children, and whatever happens, because you don't have a lot of control over it, and they need to be the primary focus because they're coming from a place of trauma. And so initially we wanted to become just parents, but now that we've adopted and now that we've done it for so long and had so many children, we're taking a break, and I'm excited to be able to do it again in a few years when my boys are a little older, coming from a different place than when we initially wanted to do it, just with wide open arms, whatever happens, happens, instead of with this deep desire to just have a family and adopt, which I would say now is probably not the best reason to do foster care.
Like you guys, we couldn't have kids either, but I'd always said from a very young age that I would foster and adopt. We just assumed we'd have a couple of our own first and then do it, but so we're doing it kind of backwards, whatever. So that's kind of how we started it. And we basically, the 1 month we got, like, the IVF didn't work. The next month we took the 2-hour beginning class for the first 2 hours you have to do before you can take pre-service. So, like, we literally, like, okay, on to the next. Like, we knew. So, that's how we did it, and then that's kind of how our journey went from there.
I'll go next. My dad was born into foster care. This is a little-known fact. My real last name is Foster. We've talked about how Forrester comes from that. But this past 2 weeks ago, we decided for my father's 80th birthday, which is this Friday. Happy birthday, Dad. For my dad's 80th birthday, we got our family together, and we did a tour of his youth in New York. We had never been to where my father grew up. He was raised in foster care from the time he was 0 until the time he was 18. He literally bounced around from home to home to home. He was never adopted. And then at 18, he graduated high school and he joined the military. And we actually celebrated his military career along with that on that journey. But we took Dad, right? And we got a van together, and you see Kate. Kate's up there smiling about the trip, right? Okay. My kids have this, and I'll give another shout out to Noxie's Bar and Grill. Noxie's Bar and Grill in the middle of the Finger Lakes in New York. Thank you for allowing us to clean up all the throw up from from our child, and giving us shots. They gave Kate a shot for being the mom in distress. But the point is though, and look at her smile. Look at the kid smile right now. She's like, me? No,
I did not.
The point is, my dad literally was born. My grandmother had a nervous breakdown. This is my understanding of it. And while she was pregnant with my father, so my dad was literally born in an insane asylum 80 years ago. So then he was raised 0 to 18. He bounced around from home to home to home. And as we're driving in the van, going to all these different places, the different cities and such, he's telling us all these stories. And some of them are really interesting and funny, and some of them are like, ugh. Like, we went to this house, and I was with these people, and we were only there for 3 months, and they realized they couldn't handle all 4 of us. So then they split the boys and the girls up, and then the boys went to this room, and they had a punishment room. And anytime we would do anything wrong, they would take us out to this shed, and they would whip us and beat us. And then we had to do chores and all this other stuff to get out of the shed. So, I mean, he's telling us, and my mom's sitting in the back of this van, and this is supposed to be a joyous family vacation. And she's back here behind me crying the whole time, as my dad's telling all these stories. So, I mean, I literally have been touched by this because I grew up only with one set of grandparents. So I only knew my mom's mom and dad, my grandma, grandpa. And, my grandfather on my dad's side was a very brief part of our life. And then the people that had kind of taken care of him, I had met through various things. So then we finally get to the point of the house where he spent the majority of his foster care existence from like 12 to 18. And we're looking at this house, and it looked like, remember that scene in Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump? Remember the scene in Forrest Gump? Remember the scene in Forrest Gump where the girl takes Forrest home, and they end up throwing rocks at the house as they're grown up. Jenny's old home. It wasn't that rundown, but it was darn near close. Oh. He had all these wonderful memories of this farm where he lived from 12 to 18, and we get there, and it just looked awful. And it was, and they weren't home either. So we couldn't even have any closure. I'm that guy. I'll go right up and I knock, and I did. I'm knocking. There's some Cujo dog coming to the door. I'm like, dude, I'm just here for the house. And it was just a total buzzkill Debbie Downer because it was the pinnacle of this moment to see where my dad grew up, and then it just fizzled, right? Yeah. So as we're pulling away, you could see it in my father's face that it was just like, yeah.
He learned to just brush it
You know what I
off.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Right.
my foster care experience.
Do you want me to share anything?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right, so I don't have like an adoption foster care story. However, when I was born, I was a year old, and my dad got kind of mixed up in some bad things, and so I didn't have a relationship with my dad. So I was raised by this wonderful man that I called Dad my whole life. And so I actually made a shirt that I'm wearing that says, "Love makes a family, not DNA." Because I truly feel that way. So even though I was not part of adoption or foster, I was raised by a man who loved me as his daughter and took me in on as that. Also, my children are being raised by an amazing man that they call Dad, but they don't share DNA. So just kind of stand the fact that whether you're adopted or fostered or separated from parents, that really just loving and building that relationship can make a child grow and nourish and all that. So that's kind of my story.
I have wanted to be involved with adoption since I was early teens. With my church, I ended up doing some missions at an orphanage and knew after leaving that trip that adoption was where my heart was. And I've been fortunate that since I graduated, I've been at Caring for Kids, working in adoption, helping birth parents, helping adoptive families, working with foster families. Like I said in the beginning, my nieces are adopted, and my life has just been touched in amazing ways by not only my nieces, but friends that have adopted, family that has adopted, and the people that I've gotten to help grow their family through adoption, as well as the amazing birth parents that I get to work with.
So good. I don't even know how I'm going to follow that one up. So I also knew that I wanted to adopt from a pretty young age, but I always thought it would be like when I'm old and I've already raised my own kids, and that's just kind of how that would work. And then Tony came into our lives when he did, and he's just such a good fit. I don't know how to explain it any other way than that. So it was kind of unexpected, like, oh, well, okay, God, this is something that, I mean, we're Christians. You say in the Bible, like, religion that our Father accepts is to care for the widows and the orphans and those in need. So, like, obviously, this is something that you want us to do, and it's just going to be a piece of cake because you want us to do it, right? They're all. and it has been, if we're going to be honest, like, a day by day, like, God, I need you. I need you in the middle of this because I can't do this on my own. And then just a little bit more of my story. 2 years ago, I became a single mom when my husband passed away unexpectedly. And at that point, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have 4 kids. How do I know? And then one has some unique needs where it's like all of my attention has to be focused on him. I don't know how I'm going to survive this. And it has been a day by day, like, okay, God, you said you wanted me to do this. I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. And so as part of the adoption story, it's just not quite as easy as you might think that it would be, but it's so worthwhile. And our family has benefited from it so much. And Isabel was out here earlier and talked about how she didn't like Tony, but like, don't let that fool you. He is her favorite brother. And she has, there's such a sweet bond there that I can't imagine our family without. So,
Cool. Thank you guys for sharing. Appreciate it. I'm going to take this. I got 2 questions left, but before we do that, we're going to do a commercial. I'm heading that way. You ready to follow me, Moon Man? You ready to follow me? Just turn. All right, we're heading over this way. All right, so folks, joined by us tonight. Let's have a big round of applause for Stray Dog, Hot Dog, and Condiment Cart. All right, so right now we're heading over this way. You got us? Okay. All right, so Charlie, it's nice to officially finally meet you, okay? We've been doing this. We've been talking now for a while. They focus on all kinds of things hot dog related, right? You'll find they call it the commissary right now, the commissary. Their main mortar and brick location is right by the Akron Public Library. All right, so Charlie, I'm going to hand the mic over to you, and I want you to first, I always ask the question, tell us your Akron story.
My Akron story is pretty easy. I was born, bred, raised, lived here my whole life.
Okay.
Easy.
All right. So, how do we go? Oh, look at they're cutting right in front of the camera. But it's over there, honey. All right. So how do we find you guys? With the other trucks, it's on streetfinder.com. Is that how? Do you have a schedule?
We just signed up for streetfoodfinder.com also. So we're not all the way plugged into there, but within this week we will be. But check us out on Facebook. We always post where we're going to be. Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. StrayDogAkron.com is our new website that's pretty close to being done, but it's up there live.
All right, so how many active vehicles do you guys have right now?
This summer we have 2 in operation. And then we have the cafe, and we have the condiment booth that you'll find at fairs and festivals and events. So you can just buy our condiments and mustards. And then we are launching the Akron Pickle. And that actually... I got that. Did you get one? Yeah. So the Akron Pickle will be at the Akron Rib, White, and Blue Festival this coming weekend.
All right, Akron Pickle. So look for that. As far as what gave you the idea to do this? Where'd you come up with this idea?
So the Stray Dog cart was just a little hobby, a little side gig, and then it took over my life. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So now she was telling me you do all kinds of fun little stuff. What's the craziest thing that you guys make?
They're all kind of crazy. Last week, Saturday, we did a festival it's a Swedish sport called Kubb, K-U-B-B, and we did a mustard-soaked sardine, mayonnaise, sauerkraut, hot dog. That mimics a Swedish dish that's just like it. But
What are you guys going to the Rib Fest, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, where are you going to be positioned somewhere in there?
We'll be right in front of the Civic Theater.
Okay, right in front of the Civic Theater. So look for them there. That's coming up. It starts on, is it Friday or Saturday?
Friday through Wednesday midnight.
So Friday through Wednesday, look for the Stray Dog carts. They're going to be right in front of the Civic Theater. Everybody, once again, let's have a big round of applause for Charlie, everybody. The sandwich was really good. I had a taste of the chicken with the sauce. What was the sauce? It's an Asian ginger sauce, and then I did have a beef hot dog, and they spiral cut it so that it cooks on the inside too. It was fantastic. It was really good. So it looks like we got more customers coming over right now. So okay, so ladies, look at you guys are all chit chatting over here. Did Liz take off on us?
She's in a pot.
Kid issue. All right, so okay, gotcha. All right, you take that one. All right, so my next question, I got 2 questions left.
Questions too.
Well, why don't you go? I talk too much. Go ahead, you go.
Can you repeat that one more time? You recording?
I talk too much.
Okay. So before commercial break, we were talking kind of
commercial break. I like that.
Commercial break. We were talking kind of about how you feel called to adopt, and each day, taking it day by day. Kind of my question is, what if you don't feel called to adopt? What about if you want to help, but you're like, my kids are young, maybe this isn't a good idea, maybe I don't know if I'm right for this, or whatnot. So I'm going to let you talk, and then pass it to...
Oh, sorry. Shoot, did you raise your hand earlier? No, I've had so many amazing people drop off coffee in the morning, or give a gift card, or say, hey, I'd like to watch your kids for you while you just go be somewhere, instead of like getting somebody while I have to go do something. They just want to help out that way. That's invaluable, because not everybody is called to adopt. Like I think we all agreed, like it can be difficult. There are lots of great days, but there's lots of hard days too. So I think as a community here in Akron, we all have a part to play, and when we can come together and take care of each other that way, it's fantastic. I'm sure you could add. Sure.
One thing we found at Caring for Kids is we have an office in Cuyahoga Falls. We have a satellite office in Wadsworth, and then we also have an office in Columbus. And we have an amazing church-based program in Columbus called Fostering Love. And one example of what these families do is they do a date night once a month. And so they are all approved to care for these foster children in these parents' homes. Saturday, they are hosting 30 children so that foster parents can go have a date, so they can have some alone time. They have frozen meals at the agency, so when we get a new placement, we can grab one and take it out to the family. And so what they are doing is amazing, and it's a church. It's a community that came together to say, we don't feel like we should foster. We don't feel that we are called to adopt, but we are called to help families that do support that, or that do that, so we can support them.
Awesome. All right.
And I have one more option. If you're not connected to a church, but you feel like your family really would like to help this a foster family or just an agency with the need due to the heroin epidemic, there is this great need. There's babies sleeping in the building. And so Caring for Kids, we are hosting a fundraiser on November 2nd. It's called our Extravaganza. We need people to attend the fundraiser, but we also are in need of donations for our silent auction or for a raffle. So if you're connected with a business, maybe contacting them and getting items that we can auction off. And all of the money raised is going to go to our different programs. So whether it's helping birth mothers or going into recruitment to find more foster homes or working, the department I work in is called Wendy's, and we work with, like I said, the harder to place kids, and they don't have good photographs. So we run this event to get them good recruitment photographs so that they can find the right family for them. And it's just amazing. And so we have all these different awesome programs we offer. And I think a lot of, like I said, the money is going to go to recruitment efforts so that we don't have babies sleeping there. So the more silent auction items we have, the better. So yes, you can find information on our website. And if you'd like to give, Danielle or Scott can connect you with me.
One thing I'd like to add first is, and I just wanted to say this, fostering is hard, but I don't think that,
She just said
yes,
amen.
hard, amen. But that does just be...
No, keep going. There's always sounds here, okay? Keep going.
Just because something is hard does not mean you should do it. So if you feel a tug on your heart, I just encourage you to explore that, because if you're feeling that, it could mean something, because, you got to be crazy to do this. But it is so, it's so rewarding and worthwhile. But along the lines of supporting and helping foster parents, I just remember, when we get a call for a child, it's usually the middle of the night. We're usually saying yes and not even sure what we're saying yes to. And our whole lives are turned upside down, for a while, just figuring out how these kids are fitting in, what they need, getting them to doctor's appointments, all right away. And so kind of looking at foster parents like you do when someone gives birth to a baby that they planned for 9 months, and you're getting them meals and going and helping them clean. And I would say even more so, we could really use that support, because it is really, truly a whirlwind. And I love how you shared that Bible verse about caring for orphans. And that is so, so true. To be able to come alongside and help each other like that is huge.
You got some?
Yeah. It is extremely hard. I always say you have to have the toughest, thickest skin, but the most open heart. And that's because it is a roller coaster ride of emotions, all the appointments, all the things with the kids, the bio parents, everything. But, respite, watching the kids so we can do something is always huge. Even at the last 3 we got 3. And I put on Facebook, okay, here's what we're getting. In 2 hours, what can I get from people? So I literally put it on Facebook. I'm like, this is what I need. And we went around to people's houses and picked stuff up, because we were only prepared for 1. We're getting now 3. So we had to double up on some stuff, and, and we had.
Can they do that?
Yeah.
They can randomly do that?
Well,
I'm so confused.
Well, yeah. So when you can tell them.
You're like 1 to 10. You're like, whatever. And they're like, hey, today's 3. How's that work?
Well, you can pick the number of kids, and it also goes by square footage. They'll always try to talk you into more. With our new house, we could actually have more kids, but there's no way we could do it. We are licensed 0 to 18. We left it all open, all ages, all races. We even said we take teen moms and all that stuff too. But so our first was just a toddler, but the next 3 were a 1, 2, and 3-year-old, so we needed an extra crib. We're getting 2 boys and a girl. We had nothing for girls. So that's where you have to call on your friends and family. And our first life group went through this whole process with us from beginning to end. And then when we were finally licensed, they actually threw us a baby shower and did all the stuff in the house and stuff so just having that support. The loving that are going to support you, not the ones that are going to say, "Are you crazy?" I could never do that. Yes, you can. It's one of those things. The loving and the supportiveness is what we need.
Each of you have said how difficult this is, and that it's not some easy thing. But something else I heard that really just tugs on my heart is, yeah, it's difficult, but we've got babies sleeping in office buildings. They don't, how hard is it on them? There's kids that have nowhere to go. So it's not just
in Akron.
In Akron.
And
next your neighbors, your community.
One of the things that I got into real life group this was several years ago. I won't mention the group or the people I was talking to, but they were go to here, go to there, go to here, go to Africa, go to this, go to that, go to Russia, go to here, go. And I'm like...
And yes, those kids need saved too.
Yeah,
but...
and I was like, go to Akron. People always forget. We're sometimes, as Christians, we're so focused on outreach and reaching across the pond and across the globe that we forget that these needs are right here at home. And they're often more prevalent than even those that are across the pond. So and again, I'm saying this statement out of ignorance, but at the end of the day, kids are kids, and if they don't have parents, they need something, right? So,
and just my opinion too, I feel like if you don't feel that calling right away, you might be like, oh, well, maybe that's not for me, but there's someone out there that will do it. There are so many kids right now in the system that even if that someone's doing it, they still need you to do it. So there's not that option of, oh, it's too hard for me right now. It doesn't fit in my life plan. Somebody else can do it. So.
Anything else over there?
Something that I've just been thinking about with the recent outcry of how we've separated children from their parents in Mexico, or right at the border, is that it's a little bit different situation, but we have all of these children here, and there are so many people all over Facebook outraged, how these children are alone in cages. We have kids here that need a home, and I know with being a single mom and having 4 of my own right now, I'm tapped out right now. I'm good, but I can support my friends and I can help out. I can pray for them, and there's just such power in that. And I just think, as a community here in West Akron, if we can come together and address, you said 650 kids
a month,
every single month. It's time. It's time for those of us who are outraged about what's going on there to apply ourselves here in our own community and make space for that.
To quote Tom Skerritt from Steel Magnolias, it's time. Yes, I know that movie. What?
Horrible turn of events. Horrible.
Did I just drop Steel Magnolias? All right. Point being, I'm surrounded by all these women. I got to do something womany. Okay. All right. So
I was just laughing that
some
only movie that you had the title right away.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So Liz has a mic, so I'm going to start with my last question with you, okay? When it's finally time and you go to finalize, they call it, is it Gotcha Day? Gotcha. I've heard it called Gotcha Day.
Well, there's different titles, but yeah, that's a great way to put it.
How does that go? Tell us, we're going to end with that. Tell us that experience. What was it like?
So it's been 8 years, and it was through Cuyahoga County. So we drove up to the courthouse. We went into a courtroom. It was just our family with a judge, and she asked us if we promised to love and protect this child, and the adoption was finalized. There was a court ceremony, and it was incredibly special and just this sort of completely different from birthing a child, and just... I don't know. We often tell Tony, he was chosen. With our birth children, we had them, and we're so thankful for them, but there's a certain power and special. We picked them. Yeah, so maybe somebody who's more recent could, kind of tap on, like, who's recently adopted? Naomi.
Well, from her experience, I want to hear, you see this all the time. I want to hear, what is that like on your end, seeing that?
Finalization day is one of the greatest days in our job, and Laura can speak to it too. Laura's finalization days are even more special because Laura's placing kids that have been waiting and waiting and waiting for families. And the finalizations that I'm going to, not that they are any less special, but they are mostly 6-month-old babies that we're going, and the judge is saying, you did it, you got here, this journey was long. For a lot of families, they wait a long time for that right baby for their family. And we often get to stand up and say, we saw this come together. We saw this family have a failed adoption. We saw this family wait, but when the right baby came and the right baby went home and the right birth mom picked the right family, this new family grew, and it's just beautiful to be a part of.
Okay.
So I've seen them in a lot of different counties, and it's a special day no matter where you go.
Okay. You got something on
Love
that?
it. I don't think I have anything on it.
Okay.
Our two adoption scenarios were very different. So with our first one, we had an amazing relationship with his birth mother, and I'm forever grateful. I know her very well, and she made me a mom, and it was amazing. She was there on adoption day, and it was just very personal, and it felt like something that we really did together. When we adopted through foster care, it just seemed like so easy in a way. Like, I didn't have to fill out paperwork. I didn't have to call any lawyers. They handled everything for us. And then we just showed up, and it was like, okay, like, these are your kids. And we're like, okay. It just seemed like it's so surreal that these two boys that we didn't make, they just are ours now, and they can't leave, and no one can take them away. And after fostering for so long, knowing that they couldn't be taken away was major. It was like, wow, you poor kids are stuck with this family. But like you said, like, it just comes together for the right family, for the right time. And my middle child is absolutely just crazy. But our firstborn is. So we were prepared for him. A new family would have been like, what? He lived with us for 2 months at the age of 2 years old, and he was on our roof of our house. Like, the kid is crazy. So, but like, our oldest, Calvin, he paved the way. We're just like, oh yeah, the roof is all good. We got this. But just things like you never expect. But adoption day is very special.
Share your November 13th. Like, share that day.
Yeah, it was cool that our son Calvin was born 2 weeks early. His birthday's November 13th, and we were there when he was born, and it was like the moment I saw him, he was my son. It was his birthday. But then when we were working through everything with our oldest, with our youngest two, and we adopted them, I don't pick a day. I don't do anything. Like, they just tell us, okay, this is when you need to show up at court, and it was November 13th as well. So it's like, that is the day for all three of our children that we became parents. So it's a very special day.
Wait. Hold on.
And November is Adoption Awareness Month, yes.
All three kids were
I don't know how I keep missing that. Say it again. All three kids?
Our oldest was born on November 13th.
Check.
So in the moment he was born, he was ours.
Check.
Like, we were there at the hospital.
You were there?
Yes.
Okay.
The youngest two, their adoption day that was picked for us was November 13th. So that's the day they became our children.
So,
Yes.
like, how does birthday parties, like, how does that work? do you do like a mega?
Well, we
like,
told Calvin, we're like, you're getting two brothers for your birthday this year.
like every November 13th.
Boom.
Every
no
November
present,
13th, we're
no.
releasing like 100 balloons. Let's
Yeah.
go. All right, go. Yeah.
Can I intertwine something?
Here, do that.
Okay, so I have followed Naomi's story. I met you like 9 years ago. I think my daughter was 1. And something that I absolutely love about her, and I don't know the stories of other, is every single child that she's ever had in her home gets a birthday party. Every
Big.
single
Big.
child that is like foster, if they're there for like a month and their birthday falls during that time she has him. She throws this huge birthday party, and the family's all there, and they love him. And I love that. I love watching your story. I love watching that every child that walks in the door is accepted and treated like they're your own. So I just love watching that. So
My goal is it might be the best birthday they ever have their whole life. So we're going to do it.
We got birthday parties on Saturday coming up for the team.
Yeah, I love it.
So I'm going to end with about finalizations, but getting finalizations. I'm going to end with a little saying, you never outgrow the need for family either. And that's a little plug for what I do at Caring for Kids. If you are deciding after this conversation that you'd be interested in learning more, I would also look at considering an older child. I have kids on my caseload who have been in care for 10 or more years, who have had 10 or more different homes that they've had to move to, not being their fault. Maybe someone passed away. I've had caregivers pass away and then they have to move. Just more loss on top of more loss. And the kids are amazing. And I know that a lot of parents want to raise a child and they want the baby experience and the school age experience, but there's so much parenting still left. I always tell people I'm 32 years old, or 33. I just turned 33. 33 years old, and I call my mother every day. And one day I want to have kids, and I'm going to have questions, or I walk down the aisle, or when my flat tire in college went out, and I was like, what do? I'm on the side of the road, and I've got an exam. There's just so much parenting that still needs to happen in. And so, adoption is a lifelong journey. And so one of my adoptions was an adult adoption. And so you can be adopted at any age. So one of my adoptions was a 19-year-old. And she needed that permanency. So.
Cool. Hold on the mic. First of all, that kid is now done. He's done. I think that's his 6th lap. It's at least 4. I think it's 6. He really wants to be on the show. So if he comes by again, stop him and I will interview him. Okay. So you got one more question. Look at Moon Man's on oxygen over there. All right, go.
And I don't think anybody here can answer it. Well, you might be able to. So I have children. What is your recommendation of, I was told, right from the start, don't adopt anything older than your youngest.
Nope.
You're
false. Myth.
There. Okay, that question's over.
Done.
That question's over. All right, so let's put a bow on this thing. All right. So what have I forgotten anything? Number one, all your stories are fit. We want to get into that because it's so truncated. It's so general. All right, so I'll add that. Cost, procedure, and policy, what's the paperwork involved? What's the cost, all that kind of stuff. How's that work?
Not gonna go into the paperwork involved. We'll be here for 2 more hours. I don't think.
I would assume it's pretty extensive. It takes a while.
Right.
Worse than the actual, what's it called?
Once your home study's done,
study, yeah.
you that's the big chunk. But you have to keep that up to date. You have to turn in new documents for court. You have to, if your home changes, your family changes, any of that, you have to update all the paperwork. So, but once you get your home study done, you're headed in the right direction.
Okay.
You're 50% of the way done. Adopting out of foster care essentially costs families nothing.
I think
okay?
It was a couple $100 for filing that you get reimbursed.
There are subsidy, there are grants, there are.
Hold on.
So it is free.
I'm
to
sorry.
adopt
What?
through Summit
Where's?
County.
If I were to quote
I'm not
old
gonna use the
Glenn
word
Beck, I
free.
need to wrap my head in duct tape right now. What are you talking
Court
about?
fees and court costs, and you have to pay per
If
class,
you foster
but you can get
to
them back.
adopt, you're telling me it's essentially free.
That's the best
We're gonna say
phrase
low
to use. Essentially free.
Essentially,
Mm-hmm.
there's minor costs involved. Where these other folks that go to all these agencies and go overseas and stuff, it's tens of thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, and
I'm so confused.
well, there's.
Get you caught up, Scott.
Adopting privately is what costs money. And the reason that it costs money is because there's additional work that goes into that, where you are helping the community, you're helping the world you're helping our country by adopting these kids out of foster care, because every day that they're in foster care, there is work going into that.
And again, this brings up another question. Is there like a stipend involved with that?
That was going to be my next statement, that based on the child's needs, based on what is determined by the county to be that child's needs, families are eligible for a monthly stipend until that child turns 18 to assist them in parenting these kids' special needs.
We have a...
No, there is adoption subsidy. Foster care, there's foster care per diem, and there is adoption subsidy.
We have a couple... We have it, and medical.
Yeah, if
medical.
you adopt out of foster care, there's coverage or second that can be considered secondary coverage.
I just sighed because I'm totally overwhelmed. You're
asking a lot of questions.
Well,
I'm a little overwhelmed too.
The show was about to end. She just did Mary Catholic Gallagher. The show was about to end, and then you did this. Okay. You did this. Hold on, wait.
I wanted people to know it is free. Like low cost. And there's to adopt through our county, and there's this extravagant need, and there's all of us people who we know, like, oh yeah, we should do that. You think about it, but like, there's a need there. So let's jump on it.
There's a couple.
If you do this, so there's a need, and if you do this, you will get stipend. You will get a little help.
Yeah.
Medical, I believe, is covered for the child while in foster. Mm-hmm.
And even into adoption, depending on their need.
Because I know as someone who has considered fostering, that was my biggest concern. Was how am I going to pay for this child's medical right now? I don't know how long this child's going to be here. Mm-hmm. I don't know these details. There is help through that. And then to go into adoption, there's low-cost fees.
Okay. It's just, I just feel like, why aren't we doing this more? It's because it's hard, but the county comes around us as best as they can to try to facilitate and to make loving homes for children. And these kids are amazing, and we need to step up, and we need to adopt them, and we need to foster care for them.
And the needs are always changing. There was a couple that was going to actually be on the night, and they decided to back out because because of the goats. Because the needs of the kid had changed, and the child was being taken away and put somewhere else. So they were like crushed and like not. They decided they didn't want to be on the show tonight because they were just crushed. Yeah. And I actually talked to her earlier today. Yeah. But the point is though that the needs of these kids are constantly changing as well, and that's part of the equation. So man, we just opened up a can of worms. So I should avoid the whole question about private adoption then, right?
I know. Well, we do again really quickly.
Throw it over there. You gotta be on.
I'll address this because the private adoption piece domestically is what I do. That is my full-time job.
You ready for my dumb question?
There's no such thing as a dumb question.
Oh, there is. This is Hank. Or if it's from Hank. Is Hank coming at you sideways.
What?
Here it is. You ready? Is it an issue in regards to, are you being more selective with the children that you're choosing from?
No.
That's why it's a dumb question.
It is not a dumb question. You have to be able. You have to ask these questions to understand. So you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
All right.
Private adoption has more fees because we are only funded by the families that are coming to adopt.
Okay.
Families that are adopting out of foster care have funds that are coming to them, or agencies that are helping people adopt out of foster care have funds that are coming to them from the government. A private adoption, while there is a need, there are moms who are in need to place their children. They are not able to parent for whatever reason. Those children would not necessarily go into foster care. Those moms are also picking the family. For every baby, there's 50 families that would adopt that infant.
And the parents get to pick that family.
The birth parents can choose the adoptive family if they want that option, and if they want an open adoption, which is what is promoted as healthiest. So when we are working with those birth parents, they're voluntarily coming to us. So we're not knocking on doors. We're not removing children from homes. They are voluntarily coming to us, and we need to provide them with support. We need to provide them with counseling. They might need help getting to the doctor. They might need help getting signed up for medical. A lot of the fees are things that we've already talked about. You have to get a home study. That costs money for the family. You pay an agency to help you locate a birth mom. So the agency has to get their name out there so that people know that they're an agency that helps people make an adoption plan. So it's just kind of, some agencies are simply like advertising agencies that families who are wanting to adopt call and say, put me on your website, I will pay you. And they pay a lot of money for that to happen.
Okay.
That is working with a local domestic agency. You're typically not looking at fees like that. But if you go online, you Google adoption, you're going to get these basically, again, advertising agencies that get you all over the United States. So a mom from California might call you even though you're in the state of Ohio.
Okay.
So that's where private adoption is like, anywhere from $50,000 to $20,000 because it depends on what avenue the adoptive family chooses to get their name out there.
$50 or 50,000?
50,000.
So you did those numbers backwards. So it's $20,000 to $50,000?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of money.
Right, and that's a very wide range too.
Right,
but that gives families have the option to choose how they want to get their name out there.
All right.
Wow.
So there's that. Okay. So
and then I can't speak to international adoption fees. I don't have any.
All right, so we need to put a bow on this thing.
Go ahead. I'm going to let you end this.
I will. And if you go to any one of these agencies, private or public, you will be able to find a list of children and pictures of children that are waiting to be adopted right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
And we offer public adoption. We offer the wide spectrum of adoption. So we offer private infant. We offer public, the foster to adopt program. Call us, www.cfkadopt.org or 330-928.
We will have all... We
will have all of that
links.
information.
It's all going to be up there. Look at that.
Don't worry, we will have all of it.
Look at Moonman. See this? Look at thumbs up. It'll be all up there.
He's got it covered.
Along with Stray Dog, it's all going to be up there. What? No, that's fine. That's fine. All right. The point. Okay. You want to do a shameless commercial? No. Go ahead.
330-928-0044.
And that's
info@cfkadopt.org.
That's Caring for Kids. Where are you guys located?
In the Falls.
In the Falls, Cuyahoga Falls. Okay. All right. So, yeah. Point being, if you go to any one of these organizations, you can look on the website. You can see kids right now that are waiting to be fostered, waiting to be adopted. They're all out there. They're looking for you. They're looking for their forever home. To quote the folks that were here with the dog adoption stuff. But this is more serious, right? Because I love all our dog folks, okay? But I place children and humans slightly, ever so slightly, more so slightly than ever so slightly above dogs, okay? Way above dogs, sorry. But
it's time to turn off his mic.
And this, hopefully Ashley's not watching right now.
Bye,
Mrs. Heidemann. Love you. Okay. All right, so folks, once again, folks, we've had an interesting conversation with here tonight. I'm going to quote, unquote, air quote, interesting, okay? Hopefully you've gained some better insight into adoption and foster care, and let's put the month of June to bed because July is all about the fun.
Yeah!
Yay! All right. We're doing the Rib Fest with Stray Dog.
We're at the Akron Zoo.
We're at the Akron Zoo. Oh, I get to swim with
We
penguins.
don't know details just yet. Don't release details, but we've got some exciting things coming in June.
Potentially, I will literally be in a penguin exhibit. And then they're doing the rubber ducks, you and Buzz.
We are doing the rubber ducks.
I'm away. I got to go to Houston for business.
And Hank's getting a pedicure.
And I'm getting a pedicure. That's fantastic.
Penguins, pedicure, and baseball.
All right.
July is the month to be.
So if you're interested in doing so, we're going to be putting up some links to connect you to the right people in order to adopt or foster a kid. Hey, next week, for lack of a better term, we are celebrating all things meat related. If you are vegan, we love you.
Don't watch the show.
Be a part of our audience, but do not tune in next week because it is all about meat. Literally all about meat. Tune in live as we head to the Akron Rib Fest. And until then, I don't know where I'm going, but there ain't no sense in being late. Everybody, say goodnight, Shirley.
Good night, Shirley.
This podcast is a copyright of Moon Garden Media.
Production by
Steve Bader.
Steve Bader.
Thanks, Moon Man.
Oh, just a lot of